Hello and welcome to Howson's Brew. Today's show is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Now more than ever, our internet reliance is at its peak. We talk to our friends, loved ones, and even watch shows like Howson's Brew. And we like to think our information is safe, but the larger your footprint is online, going to different websites, the more you need proper security. And that's where Surfshark comes in. It is a VPN service that encrypts your data on the internet to stop unwanted people from seeing it. And another great reason for a VPN, you can access content that is restricted to different places. You can get American Netflix, you can get American Amazon Prime, Canadian Amazon Prime, even football highlights that are restricted on Twitter. Get Surfshark in, you can watch them on your device. And all you have to do is change your location on Surfshark. Then you get access to everything you want. Let's say you're going on holiday even. You can change your location back to the UK and use all of your streaming services to watch football while you're away. And right now, Surfshark has a phenomenal Black Friday deal. That's today, by the way, so you have to get on it now. The link is in the description, and all you have to do is use the code Paddock to get 83% off. That's almost all of it. So for like a couple of quid a month, you get full protection. You also get 4 months for free. There's your Black Friday deal. You're looking around for Black Friday deals. This is it. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you get 4 months free, you get 83% off, and if you don't like it, you've got a month to decide. It's absolutely perfect. The link is in the description. Make sure you check it out.
Don't tell me what to do. Nothing.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm all right, are you?
I'm all right. Johnny's here.
Jonathan Shrager's here. How you doing?
I gotta give a massive shout out to the t-shirt.
Look at that. Hey?
We just said he's just shown us and I've gone, I'm sure that's original. I remember that. Do you know the swag sellers outside? I remember them selling that. I actually thought United Colours of Benetton for so long was like a United match day thing. Do you go on holiday like Tenerife and that?
Yeah.
And they sell Benetton because that's the only places they sell it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's the thing. But I was like, you dick. No, it's not. All right, okay. Welcome.
I can't believe it's such good nick. It's about 30 years old, apparently.
Doesn't look a
You
day
have to
over
get way
29.
closer to that, Johnny.
Yeah,
Don't
get
be
over
calling
there
you.
so we can hear what you've got to
Might give
say.
him a quick
And I
boost
can't
there,
hear
Callum.
Oh, it's all. Don't worry. Take your headphones off if you can't hear anything. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so there's not much to talk about anyways.
Nothing going on in the United.
Got Jonathan on, and I'm sorry, Jonathan, that you're here, but we haven't really got anything to talk about, so it's going to be a very short podcast.
I'm just here to listen to Steve's takes on Mr. Rangnick.
The good thing about Steve and Mr. Rangnick is Steve can't watch any more videos on Mr. Rangnick because he was already watching them all anyway. So it's not like he suddenly started watching videos because that's kind of what he was doing anyway.
It was funny because there's a couple of people gone, never heard you mention him. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know what you want me to do with that. So I went and found a tweet. There's a tweet from it. It was actually November last year where I was like, I'm getting a little bit obsessed with Ralf Rangnick.
Yeah. See what I mean? Like randomly. And I remember asking you about him because I didn't know a lot about him. And you were like, oh, yeah, he's good stuff.
What I thought was he was far too much of a good football appointment for United to do it.
Yeah.
Like, does he even have an Instagram account?
That's a good question. Don't say that out loud, Steve, because if they find out he hasn't, they might cancel this approach.
But it actually feels like there's a few things that have sort of been dug up, haven't they, over the last 24 hours of carnage that we've had. One of them being that
we're not trying to cancel him already, are we?
No, I don't mean like that. There was in the last in 2019, John Murtagh, when he was in his previous developmental job at the club, had gone over to visit Rangnick.
Oh yeah, I saw this. Sorry, yeah.
And asked him a lot of questions about club development, club building, this, that, and the other. And there seems to be like more and more things like that coming out. That actually these lot might have had an eye on him for a minute or two. You
said a little while ago that it was too sensible. You were saying this is too sensible.
Well, do you know what? He really started to come to fore with the Newcastle takeover,
right?
Because I was hoping they'd like get Gazza and Shearer in, Ant and Deck, and like, throw loads of money around, and that'd be a laugh.
I thought that was an option. I'm not gonna lie.
That's just hilarious.
You can see, they're famous. They're Geordies.
But like when the first thing you hear is they're looking at appoint Ralf Rangnick as director of football, I went shit.
They might get
they know what they're doing. Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's not good for the rest of the Premier League. So he's kind of come into sort of the lexicon a little bit in the last 6 weeks because of the Newcastle takeover. And then I found it weird. I think we were talking, I don't know if we did it on the podcast or if we were just chatting upstairs, but we said there seems to be a short list of actual managers, your Poch and Zidane and Valverde recently and even Rodgers allegedly and all of these sorts of things. But there was only ever Ralf Rangnick's name, and it was only a little quiet little whisper that it was a name. But there was only ever his name in the frame for the interim job, and Steve Bruce, which might have been all Steve Bruce is doing.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound like that was all Steve Bruce is doing. What did you make, Jonathan, when you heard the news that Rangnick, because I think you said a few days ago, didn't you, that this looks like it's got legs. Unlike some journalists who got burnt, didn't they? Mate.
Yeah, one of you that you actually talk to regular.
I know. Mr. Christian Falk said not true, and then had to go not true on his not true. Which, considering he's like the main man in Germany, wasn't great. What did you make of it when you heard that this looks like it's got legs and that the former RB Leipzig and Hoffenheim manager was coming to United?
And is it Schalke as well?
Schalke, there's a host.
And Ulm.
Oh, yes, there's Stuttgart, there's Hanover, there's lots of others that I don't want to insult by.
More clubs than Tiger Woods.
Thank you. There you go. When you heard he was coming, were you happy?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I probably fall more on the side of your sort of way with things in terms of like knowing about the nuances of football and certainly further afield anyway in Europe and what have you. But I think the most encouraging thing for me is hearing people like sort of Jurgen Klopp today just fawning over the fella.
Did you say that?
And it was almost like he was having to temper his own enthusiasm about the geezer, and I love seeing that. That was the most encouraging thing for me.
Yeah, if you don't know what Klopp said today, speaking about Rangnick, he said, unfortunately, a good coach is coming to England. That's how it is, to Manchester United. Ralf is obviously a really experienced manager. He built most famously 2 clubs from nowhere to prosper, threats and forces in Germany with Hoffenheim and Leipzig. You have to say a few other things as well. So obviously he's got that
pedigree, hasn't he?
Pedigree.
Yeah.
For me, there feels like a touch of the Bielsa's about him in the sense that other managers who you respect and that are well respected cite him as a good influence and a positive influence on them. I mean, there was talk on there, and I saw something this day, like when he was at Hoffenheim, I think they played Dortmund and he beat them 4-1 and
with pressing.
Yeah,
and Klopp was like, what was that?
That seems to work.
I know he's known for one of the exporters of that, essentially. Yeah, I think people look at his win percentage, which isn't a great metric to look at anyway, because there's no context to win percentage.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times, I think, especially Hoffenheim, he took them over, and I think they had a billionaire owner, but they were in the 3rd division.
Okay.
And I think quickly after he took them over there, I think they did all right, they got promoted, but then they started the following season and nearly got relegated until they kicked in, and then they actually did well. But if you're near relegation at some point, you ain't going to have a 100% win rate, are you? If you're climbing up through the leagues, you're buying players relevant to those leagues. Mm-hmm. You're not signing Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, are you? And trying to play Division 3 with them. Like, you're literally... I mean, they were signing real unheard of players. And actually, some of the players... Like, Joe Matip played for Schalke against us 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of random...
I was going to say, was he in charge when we played them in the semi?
Yes.
That
yes,
one,
was, yeah.
between that right.
I mean, I don't remember him. I'm not going to pretend. I barely remember that game, if I was honest. I was still drinking.
The away game, we were comfortable, weren't we? We won 2-0, but it could have been...
That was the one with Anderson and Gibson.
4-1.
Anderson and Gibson were getting on the apps,
2-1, 4-0.
Was it 2-1, 4-0? There was one game away where we just...
It
could have been about
10-0.
It was over before it got going, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
who was the keeper there?
Neuer.
Yeah, Neuer kept them in it, didn't he?
Because we always bring up that graphic, don't we, of like Gibson and Anderson scoring against him, and it's like... Come on.
Shit.
Who is this guy?
So I had a lot of questions for Rio because we was going to go do a live reaction to it today. Right. So I asked him a load of questions, and his reply was, I can't answer any of them questions.
Why?
Well, I don't know. This is what I'm telling you. So, but one of them was, do you remember playing against him? This isn't like... I asked a couple of things like, has he heard of Fletch? Like, does he know what the role's going to be going forward?
Okay.
But then, some of the questions were literally like, do you remember playing against him? Do you remember anything Sir Alex Ferguson said about him or his team in the build-up to it? Thinking these have been pretty good questions. He just was like, can't answer any of them questions. What, none of them?
As in, he can't remember or he just don't want to?
I don't know.
All right,
I haven't spoken to him since.
I don't know, it must be difficult, though, for a player who obviously plays hundreds of games, like 10 years ago. I know he's retired now, but do you remember that specific game that
It's a Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, but still.
And probably it's probably as well because the mythology around him seems to have emerged more in the last decade, doesn't it? Like, and obviously,
I think through
Klopp's
Leipzig,
kind of popularised it in this country, hasn't he? And sort of giving him the credit. So that's probably where he's become more renowned.
Nagelsmann, Hasenhüttl, Klopp,
Yeah.
Tuchel, all of these guys have kind of like gone on and done bigger and better things.
Championed his style.
Well, that's a good point you made there, because Tuchel, he's been asked about him today, or he's spoken about him, and he said he helped me a lot because he was my coach, and then one of the main figures to convince me to try coaching. I think that Rangnick was saying that Tuchel was working in a bar or something. He was like, he wasn't going to be a coach.
Yeah.
He was obviously been a player, but he hadn't any intention of being a coach, and he got him doing the under-15s. He goes on to say he was a huge influence on all of us at this time because he showed us it's not important to follow people to the toilet in games. People felt defenders followed the strikers in games. But then he goes on to say, before I get carried away and talk too much, he isn't appointed yet, so let's respect everybody. No, let's not respect everyone. Let's just act like he's here. Yeah.
I believe Sky, just before we came live, had mentioned that an agreement's been reached with Lokomotiv Moscow.
Come on.
So that felt like a bit of a formality that needed to be a box that needed to be ticked. That's ticked. The word on the grapevine was it was going to be announced today. We have all our live videos ready to go. Yeah. Cheers, lads. It's fucking 4 o'clock. And
do you know what I mean?
Going
What's
home
going
at
on
5.
Hey? Come on, you can at least get it. Remember when he did Ronaldo as we were live? That's like the sort of thing you want. Come on, help us out. Romano's tweeted 52 minutes ago. I think we all know this, and you've just more or less said it's the agreement in place between United and Lokomotiv Moscow for Ralf Rangnick. Deal most likely to be signed late this weekend. Rangnick also has an agreement to join as interim manager and then with consultancy, in inverted commas, role starting from June 2022. Jonathan, I'll ask you, the consultancy role, how much consulting do you think he's going to do? How big an influence do you think he can be once he isn't the manager anymore?
Wasn't before it was announced that Woodward was going to extend? Wasn't he meant to be doing some consultancy as well?
I'm hoping that Ed Woodward's consultancy's got nothing to do with Ralf Rangnick's, because I'm hoping Ed Woodward's consultancy's like, I've got that number of that noodle sponsor you're asking for, where Ralf Rangnick's actually like, here's how we should play, and here's the players I've got in place to help you do that.
Well, here's the staff and the infrastructure.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, but I'm hoping it's night and day with those two.
So have you noticed that United were very, very protective over and particular over the titles given to Murta and Fletch?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a bit confused because I kept getting them wrong for starters. So let me Murta, director of football, Fletch, technical director.
Yeah, which leaves a door
what's
open
on their LinkedIn, is it?
Yeah,
which leaves a door open for a sporting director.
Aha,
which is apparently what Ralph's going to be.
So we're gonna have.
What's your thoughts on whether he looks like me, old man?
Yeah. I was just jotting out.
Ronaldo gripped me yesterday upstairs like, yo.
He does, doesn't he? Can we get... he's been on...
Does your old man wear glasses? He don't wear glasses, does he?
Yeah, he does,
Producer Callum's going to get a picture of your dad. When he was on the channel as well, so we're not going through your like personal photos there. Yeah, he does actually. Do you know what? We should get your... Right, I've got an idea. Don't tell anyone about this, Jonathan. I know what you're like, right? Don't tweet it. Right? Get your dad... Oh my God, it's uncanny. Right, I've got this.
Yeah, similar glasses as well.
Yeah, he's got them glasses.
Perfect. We did this with Ian Sterling from Must because people thought it was Louis van Gaal. Right?
You're sending him out into town.
Get a photo of you interviewing your dad here. We'll put that on a thumbnail.
And we'll Ralf Rangnick. Yeah. The Ralf Rangnick interview. So, Dad, what do you reckon about this Ralf Rangnick fella then?
And we'll get like 1 million hits of you.
Talking to me, Dad.
And all the comments are like, that's not Ralf Rangnick. That's House's dad.
Said it's the Ralf Rangnick interview.
It sounds very Mancunian all of a sudden, doesn't it, this Rangnick?
I know, yeah. Raja... I don't...
If you go on my Instagram, it's the Remembrance Day one. He's stood next to me on that. Just use that one.
Raja Vashishista says, what will be the learning curve with our players? That's a good question. Steep. Do you think they are going to have to sort of... I know they had to pull the socks up anyway, but they are going to have a rude awakening with this guy, do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think... Have we all seen the video that went round last night with him turning the lights off in the Leipzig dressing room?
Yeah, quite intense.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is, though, with things like that, right? You look at things like that, and I like him. And when we don't know now, we like it. And if things are going well, we like it. If things start going wrong,
he's a bully.
Why is he turning the fucking lights?
Then, you remember
What's
like,
he doing?
do you remember Van Gaal with the substituting the goalkeeper? I watched that and I thought, and he went through. This guy's a ledge.
Oh my God. We've appointed a genius.
And when I was watching Phil Jones on corners or whatever, I was like, this guy's lost the plot. And actually, in retrospect, that was a bonkers move to take off your keeper. So yeah, I've seen that. I've seen him going onto the pitch with his phone, which I quite like. But again, you know, it's all fun and games until the results.
It's always in the Premier League.
Yeah, and then you're thinking, actually, pack it in.
And he wakes them up, doesn't he, at midnight or something? And
Does
goes,
it?
Apparently, there's one way he wakes them up at midnight, takes them out training, so that basically they can do it half asleep. His actual system,
That's all
which
right.
is amazing. I don't know if that's just myth.
I know there's a story going around about him, which I think might have been in the Das Reboot thing, that he's an obsessive worker and someone that if ideas come to him, we're doing the idea now. Like
Really?
a bit like me.
Yeah.
So like if we get an idea, we're just doing it.
Trust me,
Like,
I know that one. We're going live now with this video. Right, okay.
So he will, not necessarily the players, although I assume that there's probably some double sessions about to start kicking in.
Yeah.
But with staff and stuff like that, if he gets an idea at 1:45, you better meet me there, at Carrington sort of thing. Which,
I love
do you
it.
know what? Like,
Yeah, they fucking
they're
pay
well
well,
compensated
right? Yeah,
enough. Like, let's
too
just,
right.
you're not a minimum wage, are you? You're not going to have to get a fucking Uber in.
No.
Do you think he is very different from a lot of other managers? Because one thing I saw, I think it was, and I like Bill Rice, good mate, and he tweeted something like
Side by side, Cal.
he did a tweet like from a bit of a
Yeah,
book,
an
and it was
extract,
like,
yeah.
and it was like, oh, you know, he insists on players just taking 2 touches, and I think in training, I think, well, that's.
But that's not that.
Enforcing it, though, isn't it?
It's
Yeah, but is it? That's what I mean. Is that?
But that's not that revolutionary, because I remember even fucking not comparing myself to flipping, Ralf Rangnick, but I remember being at school and we used to do 2 touch at school,
Yeah,
just
I mean,
to make sure you like
little things
keep
like that's
it
what I'm getting at. Are we
not
looking
too elaborate?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like an old school. And also, if
That's
you
part of
remember,
our warm-up on a Saturday.
That's what I mean. Like, I've not played to any decent level whatsoever, but even I remember 2 touch in training when I
exactly,
did play.
just to make sure. And also, there was the whole thing with when Ronaldo, obviously when he first came. And Walter Smith, didn't he? He just basically said, right, we're removing the games now. We're going to make it like 3 touch to basically stop Ronaldo hogging the ball. So that sort of stuff's been going on for ages.
That's what I mean. I think sometimes, don't get me wrong, this guy's obviously, from you've been saying like revolutionary. I think sometimes you get a little bit, but we have got a good picture of him, haven't we? If you want to share that so everyone can see. Well, never mind, don't you give me your excuses.
Oh, there he is.
So you met him,
Do you not think that's a
Steve?
bit like the
Where did you meet him, Ralph?
I was at the Remembrance
Oh,
Parade.
really?
So that's a bit weird bumping into him at the Remembrance.
There's a look in there. Fair play. There is a fucking look.
We've got to get your dad that outfit. Got to.
I think he's got that outfit.
Get him that blue
I think that's what
jumper
he
and that
goes to
blazer.
work in.
Yeah. That is absolutely.
Did it not twig then, Steve, that something might be on?
Yeah. That is class. I love it. Right, I'll go through some of the super chats. Nathan Best, welcome to the academy. Saeed Ali Reza says, Romano seems to think he'll be consulting the board. Hope he does. This lot need someone to point out the obvious and away from shiny object. I
also think the consultancy means that they listen to him in the 6 months more too.
Right, okay.
Just because they think,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to work with this fucking lunatic for the next 2 years.
that's a good shout.
Like,
Good point.
if they was just there for 6 months, any mad ideas that he's coming up, like, I think we should, like, reorientate Carrington 90 degrees. They're like, what? Sure.
Yeah.
Whereas if he's here for 2 years, they're like, get the
Gonna have to
digger.
listen to this guy for the next 2 years. Better just do as he says. No, I like it. I like the fact that it seems like a little bit grown up, the approach.
Yeah.
Rather than, Michael Carrick won a game, let's give it him forever. Or, Brendan Rodgers just won the FA Cup, let's give him a 10-year deal. It's like, hang on a minute, this makes sense. And the consultancy thing is the thing that I think relieved is more the right word, because I just feel like my biggest bugbear with United hasn't been Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, hasn't even been Jose or Van Gaal or even Dave Moyes. It's been the structure at the club. That's what's really got to me, and that's the thing I've been moaning about more than anyone is Ed Woodward and people like that, because I feel like we've just not run like a football club in modern day. In this era of football,
You're running against as well. The thing is, United, if we was in a different league, if we was in Holland, if we was in France, if we was in Italy, maybe, but you're in the Premier League where there's so much money that you can't buy up your lower level opposition players like they can in Germany, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you've not got 10x the revenue. You don't have that in the Premier League because everyone's loaded. So you can't just go and cherry pick, say, Calvert-Lewin, because they go, no, give us 100 million. He ain't a £100 million player, but he is a £100 million player because that's how much you're going to have to pay to get him. Same with Declan Rice. He ain't a £100 million player,
No.
but he's going to cost you £100 million to get him.
Yeah.
So because the
That's a
Premier
good
League
point,
is so overwhelmingly stacked with cash and competition and all the rest of that sort of stuff, when you're running against people who in the Premier League have got unlimited cash, like Manchester City, and they've got owners with a vision, and that vision is be the best team in the world, and you've got the Scousers who are doing it on a bit more of a budget, but they're saying be the best team in the world, and they're trying to do it a bit more data sciencey and a bit more on the budget, but they're still saying within our constraints, be the best team in the world. Yeah. You've got Roman Abramovich, who only knows the English for be the best team in the world, and you're fired. Right? That's the only language he knows.
Kind of works for him, though.
You can't then have the Glazers sucking 100 million out every single season saying, can we come fourth?
Yeah.
Because if you're aiming for fourth, while you've got all of these teams aiming to be the best team in the world, you ain't going to get fourth. You're going to get overtaken by Arsenal and Spurs and Everton and West Ham. Some of them are going to overtake you. Leicester, Leicester's, I don't know if they've ever said, can we be the best team in the world? But look at their investment in their training ground. Look at their investment in a new stadium. Look at the actions rather than the words of what's coming out from that ownership. And they're running a football club, on the outside at least, it seems, the correct way.
Yeah, it's a good shout at Leicester as well. People forget that. They came in when they were in the Championship, didn't they, those owners? And then got them promoted, and then they looked like at one point they were going to go back down, obviously stayed up, and have gone on to big and better things. But yeah, you're right, and it's that sort of lack of both plan and ambition at times which just let us down. Alpha Omega in the super chat says, Gegenpress consultant Professor Rangnick fits the quintessential German manager trope, at least. Would much rather see Carrick tweak our lineups and formation like Villa Real game till May. Just on that, and I'm not expecting you to know the answer, but you can give me your sort of opinion. Do you reckon he's going to keep Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan, and Kieran McKenna, and am I missing anyone about?
What's the contractual situation? Because there's all these rumours that they're going to get extended, or
the word is they are.
They have been extended.
Right.
So they've got
well, when you say the word, I'm guessing that is the word. I think that's probably come straight from someone's phone at Old Trafford.
So they've got another 2.5 years that we're paying them. So what are we going to... The thing is it going to be a case of... Because I was reading today, someone had put some... As most top managers do, he's got a bit of a little team that he brings with him to different places. Is he going to bring... I know he's bringing this Lars Konetka fella.
Right.
Is he going to bring a couple of others? Because you don't want too many cooks spoiling the broth, do you?
I think he's bringing 2.
Is it?
Let me just get the names.
Go on, you can have a look at that while I go through some of the...
Lars Konetka's really interesting because he was the first video analyst in Germany.
Right.
Whatever?
Yeah. Under Rangnick, which is mad because it was only in like 2001 or 2002 or something like that. Yeah,
right.
And I was already doing video sessions at rugby with different clubs, and it was videotapes as well, like doing like TV video combined, sort of unit, about 8-inch screens. Probably 14. I'm downgrading it here a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because I think United only got a goalkeeper coach in like the late 90s and started doing proper fitness sessions in the 2000s. Yeah. Like it all really developed.
Kurt Mosseter. So there's going to be Lars Konetka, Kurt Mosseter, and Kurt is a sports scientist. He was a bit of a player as well. Apparently similar to Klopp's assistant.
That's
fantastic.
Good. That sounds positive. Like I say, we'll find out when the results start.
You know who for that.
Yeah, okay. Colin Wilmot says, do you think Rangnick's style will suit Jesse Lingard?
Yes.
Gegen Jess.
Yeah, nice. Gegen Jess, yeah, we'll have that one.
I think it's got to be, he's the sort of player.
I'd be surprised if it was Jesse and Fred.
I said that this morning, not about Fred. I said about Jesse, though. He seems, I don't know anything about anything, but even I can see that Jesse seems like a type of player that would fit that style.
100%.
Because he's full of beans, he likes to press, and and he follows instructions as well, Jesse Lingard. I think that could be a thing. Peter Kelly says, remember when Conte was waiting on a work permit? We heard Spurs were training 3-5-2. What the changes we are training the Gengen... Oh, so I think that means what are the chances we are training the Gengen press this week. If you're Michael Carrick, do you alter anything now? Or do you just do what you're going to do anyway? Or do you go, actually, this guy's going to come in, I know how this is his style, let's do a bit of that, or is it pointless?
It'd be daft to not sort of start preparing people for what they were going to face, especially with the frequency of games through December. Like, there ain't a lot of training ground time, so if you've had any time this week... And it sounds like they knew about Rangnick, well, for at least for a week, I would say. What?
Who are you talking to?
So Well, I fucking knew on Sunday, so.
I know you want to know when you knew as well. I think you're both doing like those little surreptitious tweets that
So,
if you read between the lines,
let's
you can
assume,
say what's going on here. We know both of you as bad as each other.
Let's just say if I knew by Sunday, let's hope that they've had a conversation with the guy in the meantime. They saying, right, let's just suppose I'm able to extradite myself from this contract with Lokomotiv Moscow. How do you want to set us up for the post-Chelsea game? And he's probably giving a bit of a guideline without going mental, I would hope.
Yeah, it makes sense. Jonathan, do you reckon?
I was going to say as well, I mean, not to sort of move the conversation on, but I'm just curious for your thoughts. Not that I'm trying to take over the role of interviewer here, but
please do.
Just a few different angles.
This is open forum.
How pragmatic do you think we're going to be with regards to how he does? Because obviously we had the situation with Ollie where he comes in, does pretty well. There's the clamour for him to be the manager, gets the role. There was quite a lot of people that were quite, in that first 6 months, I think most of us accepted that he deserved maybe a little chance anyway. But
I mean, after Paris, I think we would have given him the keys to Old Trafford permanently, wouldn't we? I mean, everyone was making excited. The weird thing with Ollie was he waited until he started losing before they gave him the permanent job.
That was a bizarre one, when we tapered off at the end. But I was just wondering with this fella, he's obviously got the pedigree, but if he does well and they've got the sights set on someone like Pochettino for next year, do you think they will be flexible on that? I know you don't like Poch, do you? But do you think they'll be flexible if he's doing well?
It's a good question. I don't think they will. I think the fact that this is Manchester United. They could go on and point the ice cream in Van Man for all we know. Do you know what I mean? There's no logic to him.
But he could go to him. Hey, that Carrick's pretty good, and they'd be like, you're into.
But I would think the fact that he's consultancy, even if he's successful this season, let's say he wins the Champions League, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but let's say he did that. You go, got to give him a job. But if he's going on to consultancy, he can move into that role with all the swagger of like, listen, I've had success, I know what I'm doing. Bring in a manager who's going to help carry on what I've set up. Also, the fact he's 63, so it's not like United. We like to pretend we're going to have this manager for 10 years, don't we? Yeah. Even with Moyes, it's a 6-year deal.
Hey,
sorry,
we are.
So at least with him, you're not pretending that you're going to have him for long term because of his age and the fact that he's not unlikely to sort of live here for the rest of 10 years or whatever. So it kind of makes sense that he will go into that consultancy role, but I don't know. I don't know. What do you reckon? He might. I mean, United might. He might win 4 games and they go, he's really good. We'll quick give him the job forever.
I wouldn't rule anything.
I know.
Literally, I wouldn't rule anything out.
I'm with you on that.
But I think that him already preempting a consultancy role for 2 years, he said something really interesting in one of the interviews that I watched with him, which is what we do, and he was talking about the we of that group of like coaches and football administrators. He says what we do is we develop players. He says whether we're involved in youth coaching, whether you're a sporting director, or whether you're the head coach, all we do is develop players. And he goes, and I can do that in any of those roles. So I don't necessarily know if he needs, like Jose Mourinho needs to be the head coach, doesn't he? I don't know if he needs to be the head coach. I think he's had a very good, successful time, certainly when he was at Red Bull Football Group, where he was overseeing a project in multiple different areas and bringing the levels up of all of those different places. I don't necessarily think he needs to be the head coach. I think he'd be a great bridge to a more modern sort of approach from the club with a new manager. I can't imagine he'd bring someone like Tuchel in, even though the close relationship they've got. I think Chelsea's a megalith of a club, and there's obviously won things there that I don't think he'd ever jump that ship. But I wonder if there's another manager that isn't quite on the radar of English fans yet.
That's what I was thinking. Because if, say for example, if Mopo, I don't like that moniker, but that's what they're calling him. I know you're not a fan of him. Well, the internet. Twitter.
What have I told you about that?
It's a fad. He'll never catch on the internet.
But like, so say Pochettino comes in.
Yeah.
And you've got, say this fella, like, hypothetically, would obviously all be delighted, he wins the Champions League. Pochettino has a different style. How's that going to work? Because he's overseeing the project, and you've got a manager coming in with a different style. How does that tally?
He had Hassan Hüttl as a manager that he had appointed when he was at Leipzig. He might think Hassan Hüttl's up for the job, which a lot of United fans are just going to look at what his record is with Southampton and go, no.
They're going to go 9-0. Yeah. You're going to have so many people bringing up that 9-0 that it's going to be unreal. Yeah. Hit the like button as well. We've got 4,000 people watching. Hit that like button.
Probably not Hassan Hüttl because of that. Yeah. But he might have a manager in mind that goes, this will continue that style.
Yeah.
Someone like a Tuchel and a Klopp, let's be real, all play a variation of his style in a way. I think he's a bit more possession-based, differently possession-based than Klopp, because Liverpool have a phenomenally high possession percentage, but then you wouldn't call them a possessional team.
No. But I know
They
what
hold
you mean,
possession
yeah.
amongst their centre-halves generally.
And the midfielders are tidy. They're not spectacular, but they keep possession.
And I think Tuchel can kind of be. He's a different variation on that. Again, he uses a lot of wing play, but it's not the same at all as Klopp's.
Yeah.
And Hassan, who obviously he's playing with a different train set with Southampton, but you can see things that he's trying to do that you can recognise, at least in those two managers. And again, I think you can recognise some traits of those. It's like a lot of the Spanish managers, from Enrique to obviously to Pep Guardiola. Even I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. There's even Bielsa. I know he's not Spanish, but like there's a trait in some of these that are similar. But there's even crossover from a lot of the Spanish style of play to the German style of play. And I think both of them can work quite well in England, actually.
Yeah.
Especially in the Premier League, because a lot of it's just about intensity and speed. And
which
this
we've
is
lacked,
serious.
haven't we, for so long.
That's two words there that, you say, we have lacked. Jason McMillan in Super Chat says, how does Ronaldo fit into Rangnick's press? And does Ten Hag not suit this style to take over rather than Poch? Two very good points there.
Both Ten Hag and Poch.
Ronaldo one.
Play
the other one then.
slightly pressing, possession-based football. I don't think any of them are copycats of what Rangnick is about to do, but I think they're on the same track as them. Like they're not. It's not going to be like a complete 180. Forget everything. It's not like bringing Tony Pulis in afterwards. Where you're going to be like going from Guardiola to Tony Pulis. Like you're not going to be like, right, anyway, do you remember all that we just learned? Yeah, throw that out.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything like that. On Ronaldo, he had Raul at Schalke, 2011.
Yeah.
Raul wouldn't be someone that you would know as he was 34 as well at the time, as someone that was a mega presser. And that Schalke team pressed invariably. They got to a Champions League semi-final, got dicked by United.
Well, it's a bit harsh though, isn't it? Because they did, and people have already brought that up. But they did extremely well to get to the last four of the Champions League with that, with the resources that he had.
They did.
That is, that's not an easy feat to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how many times have City done that in their history? Like once.
No.
It's like,
Yeah.
He got his pants pulled down in the end, but you can only take a group of players so far. So, like you say, it is an achievement.
And when you think of like Ronaldo latter years at United with, when you had Tevez and Rooney all doing the legwork and just running around like blue arse flies. I mean, ultimately, we don't have fancy sort of phraseology for it here, do we? Like gegenpress and stuff. But essentially, they were pressing and harrying and
that Barcelona game. Remember that semi-final at Old Trafford? Rooney and Tevez were like men possessed.
Exactly.
It was like they wouldn't let them breathe, and you're like, wow. And then
some people forward three of Rooney, Park, and Tevez was nothing. But a pressing forward three.
You get on that ball if you're a defender, you've got half a second before
and
one of
the
them's on you.
midfield that was Carrick, Scholes, and Hargreaves.
Exactly.
Scholes wasn't necessarily a presser, and this is where the Ronaldo comparison kind of comes into this. You can cheat. You can always have one player. When you have three, when it's like PSG the other night, you're fucked.
You can't do it.
But you can have one.
You just can't do it.
You can have one, and all you got to do is, if you have a simple solution, you go, right, Ronaldo, you mark their right side centre half. You're going to be left forward. You mark their right side centre half, and you just mark him.
Yeah.
You don't need to press a guy if you're marking a guy, because that other centre half's going to look up and go, well, Ronaldo's a bit close to him, and he's looking this way. Yeah. And as he's looking this way, he's got Bruno chasing him down. He's got someone else covering the ground. All Ronaldo needs to do is just kind of walk near that guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to sit off and create a pressing trap. You use your Rashford, your Bruno, your Fred, for people like that have got that sort of acceleration and fitness to do that. You don't let Ronaldo do that. You don't ask Ronaldo to do that.
But like you say, you can carry the one, can't you? And he's that good that he justifies it. That's the key.
What I like about Rangnick as well is he's a big fucking crosser.
Really?
Loves a cross.
Does he? Are we talking like late era David Moyes?
No, I said loves a cross, not only got the cross.
Yeah, look, we're not going to have pieces of paper with we had 83 crosses in this game and I can't believe we lost or drew even. Surav Mukherjee says, I'm curious to see how the fan reacts once he settles in and if things go south. I think it means the fans. We've seen the impatience of fans since 2018. Thoughts? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not just saying this because we're a fan channel. Impatience of certain sections of this fan base. I think United fans get a rough deal because I've been stood there watching us get battered off our rivals, and the fans have still backed the manager. So it's not a case of we've all turned and we all have this high expectation. We haven't won a league since 2013. I think we have a right to be a little bit miffed at that.
And
so
it's
I don't know.
historically one of the most patient fan bases in terms of match-going fans.
Yeah.
I know I hate to
No.
divide
And I think
but
even online, there's this sort of thing that match-going fans are nothing like the online fans. It's not the case. I think there's a lot of fans online who've backed Ollie, backed Jose, and backed Van Gaal.
But they get
anonymous
diluted.
trolls.
Yeah, you get
Anonymous trolls can't exist in real life, therefore they don't exist in real life.
That's it.
Whereas fucking Marshallisms on Twitter is
Marshall
whoever from
1997.
wherever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not a person.
No.
When someone's got their real name, it doesn't matter where they're from. Generally, the opinions, because it's not 100% proven, but generally the opinions are a slight bit more realistic. When it's look, it's football Twitter accounts. Let's have it right.
Yeah.
It's football Twitter accounts.
But
say
there's a lot of them with
outrageous
United,
shit.
isn't there, unfortunately?
Yeah,
That's the thing.
There's a lot of them of every club.
I mean, I
It.
keep getting told I'm bald, and I'm like, I know I've got a mirror. Do you know what I mean?
Someone,
It's like-
sorry, there was a comment
Go
that
on.
someone said we've only invited you on here, so
bald.
I'm not the only bald
Oh,
one,
right, I was gonna-
which is not wholly accurate. Tom Greenwell says, how important is the continuity, I can say that word, of style beyond this interim period? Should we avoid having to wipe the slate clean just to get someone like Poch in? I think Steve already mentioned that it's not a complete sort of change around if Poch does
It's
come
not
in.
180, but
No.
I think it is important. I think we lurched from Louis van Gaal. If we'd have got Solskjaer in following Louis van Gaal, I think we'd have been in a better place. But we didn't. We got Jose in.
Yeah.
And Jose's signings, largely, not exclusively, but largely Jose's signings, your Lukaku, your Sanchez type signings, even Ibra to a certain degree, they were very short term, they were very expensive, they were very of one type of thing. Whereas that hasn't generally been what Solskjaer's been looking for, and it certainly wouldn't have been what Louis van Gaal would have brought in. So we've gone from, we've sidestepped on a couple of different managers here rather than continuing down one path. And I think that's why other clubs with their appointments can end up being ultimately successful. Because, I mean, let's say Bayern Munich, for an example, going with Nagelsmann following like Pep Guardiola, it follows a trend. Even though they're not identical styles, they're still... tiki-taka and your forward pressing, gegenpressing is not identical, but there's a lot of traits that are similar. Things like winning the ball back in a certain amount of time, high lines, and looking for certain sort of defense splitting passes. These are sort of traits that fit into them. There might be tactical tweaks in there where you go, well, actually, we don't really tend to focus on that, or we do focus on this one. They might be the differences. But going from Rangnick to Poch is not a 180-degree turn. Going from Rangnick to Ten Hag isn't a 180-degree turn. Going from Rangnick to Zidane is not a 180-degree turn. I don't really know of many people with... The only one I can think of that's an absolute definite would be Simeone or Conte. Like, these are people that you go, okay, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
I'll go back to Jose.
Yeah, I feel that. Here's one for you, Steve. Stu Whitaker says, Ralph has already changed the Brew format. The guy's a genius. No 1991 connection, Steve.
Hang on. What the fuck is this shirt?
We've literally got... Can we have a close-up there of that?
It's around the badge as well.
Yeah.
91
Yeah.
Cup winners.
We've got it here. Don't worry about that. That's all roads lead back to Rotterdam. Don't you worry. Alex Buckingham says, looking forward to the coach's voice video, seen clips from it, but not the whole thing. Good of them to let you use the footage. Talk about that, Steve. Where can people find out? Where is it? When's it
I'll
out?
be putting it out. Will's been on it all day long. We came in early today.
I know. I walked in. I couldn't believe it. I was coming in. I thought I could put my feet up because I'm usually the first in and pretend I've been working dead hard while no one's here and you're already here. Abdullah Ibrahim says, I can see players like Eddie and Lingard on their work rate
100%.
and aggressive centre-back like Bailly, fitness permitting,
Yeah.
doing well under RR. How do you see him improving other existing players? Jonathan, how do you see him improving anyone?
And this was a question as well, because I know Steve's been looking into him sort of extensively today. He seems a very assertive, authoritative figure. He seems like he sort of oozes that, doesn't
Yeah.
he? Do you think he's going to be bold enough to make decisions based on certain players? Say, for example, if they're not putting the shift in that he needs them to put in? Because
I don't think he drops Ronaldo if that's what you're...
maybe not.
edging
Okay,
towards.
Ronaldo aside, because he sort of lives on his own planet a little bit, doesn't he, Ronnie? Like, we've seen with we had Mourinho, he threw his toys out the pram. We went to the kind of other extreme of Ollie, who was sort of very nurturing. I'm kind of hoping this guy's somewhere in the middle where he can be stern, but also put an arm around the shoulder if they need it. Like, where do you is he going to be bold enough to make big decisions?
I assume so, because I know he walked out of places. I think he walked out of Schalke because they wouldn't appoint a fucking doctor that he wanted.
I like that.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
You know what I mean? You need a bit of that, don't you?
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong on that, but he walked out somewhere on those terms. I think it was Schalke, but I can't remember off the top of my head. The man management side of stuff is I haven't heard a lot about what his man management is, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe because people are just blown away by his brain.
Yeah.
That they just focus on that aspect of it rather than like it's like I asked the current first team player about Donny. They've just been absolutely jizzing their pants about how sharp Marcus looked.
Right.
And I said, is Donny currently getting what is he doing in training to justify this sort of like, this is about 6 or 7 weeks ago where it was like peak Donny must play sort of. And he went, oh, he's a nice lad. And I went, well, there you go. Like you've just absolutely expunged yourself over Marcus and how sharp he looks and how ruthless he looks. And I said, but you've just said Donny, not really.
Nice
so
guy,
nice guy. So if the
give you a lift to training.
If everyone, if someone says, oh yeah, Joe, like maybe that was one of the criticisms that we overlooked with Ollie was that he had a good rapport with players.
Yeah.
Maybe Donny van der Beek aside. He had a good rapport with players, and that was an excellent thing. Or he made the players feel better than Jose did. Okay, well, does that mean that there's a downfall in other areas of his personality that maybe we're not sure on? Or do people just focus on a couple of things because it's easy to pigeonhole managers and players and stuff like that rather than actually talk about what they're really like?
I don't know if you know this, but a big thing that I'm curious about is January. Is he going to have sign-off? Are we going to sign anyone? Is he going to be able to sell anyone? Do you know that? Do we not have any idea on that yet? Is that something to look at? Because I wonder as well, there's so much to sort out in terms of players who are ready to go. Jesse's ready to go. Pogba's ready to go. Also, can he get to the end of the season without a midfielder? Does he look at it and go, I need a DM? Do you know what I mean? We've all been saying it. We've all been saying United could do with a DM. Does he say it? Does he say it to the board and say, look, you want me to sort this out now? I still need a DM. And also, it sort of sets a trend for him. If he's going to be here for 2.5 years and he goes, I need a DM, they go, well, no. It's not looking great for someone who's going to be... Yeah, I mean, he goes, right, well, this consultancy role is going to be great. If I'm telling you this as a manager and you say no, when I'm consulting you, are they going to listen to me? I know there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes. Not even
No, you're right.
But I'm just curious because January... the season's gone that wrong, but you're already looking at January going, we need someone. And I'm wondering whether he's thinking the same, because obviously he's.
I don't think you need to spend 100 million quid.
No, I get that. I hear you there.
And that's what I'm hoping. I mean, when you look at what he did do at both Salzburg and Leipzig and what the Red Bull football model is, he's got a clanger on his books, though.
Go on.
A massive clanger on his books. So he was looking at a lad at Fleetwood Town.
I know where this is going already. Hey.
Jamie Vardy.
I'm glad you said that, because I was trying to think of another Fleetwood Town player, and I got
just for a laugh.
Yeah.
So he was looking at Jamie Vardy when he was Fleetwood. It was actually the window he ended up going to Leicester.
Right.
And he said no, purely on the fact he was 25. So Red Bull's model was all 24 and under players that they can flip for a higher value. I think
chat shit, get ranged.
Yeah, nice.
I think he'd have.
I'm here for the puns only, by the way.
Hey, that's up there with Jess and Press.
He'd have absolutely smashed it in Germany, I think, with his running.
And I'm not just defending him because he's about to be appointed Manchester United's manager, but if you're looking at a 25-year-old tearing up in whatever League 2 or whatever, who used to be an odd carrier a year ago, you're probably going.
There's a lot of asterisks there in there for you to say.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Jamie Vardy's a very, very good player, and he's gone on. But I remember watching Jamie Vardy for Leicester against Man United when he got that penalty against Raphael, saying he's rubbish. How is he in the Premier League? He's not a Premier League footballer.
Meanwhile.
And then next season, they won the title and he scored
He breaks Ruud van Nistelrooy
Ruud van Nistelrooy record against us as well. I was like, what is going on here? But yeah, so you're right, it is a clanger.
He's got a clanger on his books for that.
I can
but when you think about like uncovering of like Campbell and Haaland,
there's a list there. There's some signings he made, and these are signings he made when these people weren't big.
Upamecano.
Yeah, so there's Naby Keita.
United turned him down, you know.
Upamecano
was on, yeah.
Oh, God, another one.
What stage, though?
Like
when he went there.
Oh, when he went there. There's been a few of those recently,
yeah,
haven't
just
there?
a bit. Naby Keita got in for 1.2 million at Leipzig.
Well, he sold him for about £78 million profit.
Yeah, nice. Luis Gustavo, 850k. Kimmich, 350k.
What's he done in the game since?
Rubbish. Did himself a favour. Deo Upamecano, 1.9 million. You'd pay that for him anyway. Done himself a favour. Demba Ba, 2.5 million.
Yeah.
Great player, Demba Ba.
Yeah.
My favourite non-United player of all time. And I'm not even joking. You don't need to ask why. Yusuf Poulsen, 1.3 million he got him for. David Alaba, he got him on loan. Yeah. Timo Werner, 8.5 million. Let's not forget that Timo Werner was
well good in Germany.
Yeah.
But
He's been lucky a few times, and obviously.
These are the
There's
sort
Haaland
of,
as well that I didn't mention. That was 6 million.
This is the sort of recruitment that he's been able to achieve.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of recruitment Manchester United seem incapable of producing. Like, look who we signed in the summer.
Yeah.
We signed Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael, Champions League Varane, right?
Unearthed gem stick.
Jason Sanchez.
Scouting department has done their homework there, bro.
And Tom Eaton, right?
Hey.
Who scouted them? A 12-year-old playing FIFA. Like, there's no gems there, is there? Let's be honest. Like, literally,
You literally got
no
the
one,
most obvious signings.
nobody could misspell them. Like,
We
it's
need
not
a-
one of those. Like, I mean, I've spelt Rangnick wrong. Like, we also going to spell it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, no one's misspelling any of those signings that we had. I'd love him to come in and go, look, yeah, United need a DM. I've got one. He's going to cost us 17 million though.
Yeah.
And we go, wow. And I bet
He
he's
might
sick.
do. He might do. You know when
he
Wenger
will.
went to Arsenal?
Yeah.
The reason that I think the Wenger tailed off a little bit is when he went there, he had all these signings under his up his sleeve that he could go, look, I can get like
Vieira.
yeah, or whoever, and then it's tailed off a bit. He might have that. He might have these players that he's been monitoring for years. That
He will,
thinks,
100% he will do, yeah.
cut out, and also where you're at a club like a Hoffenheim or Leipzig, whatever, where they might not be willing always to go for these 20, 70 million pound players because to them it's a big deal. United, we spend that constantly, don't we, on players? We spend more than that on players that aren't even necessarily for
Just
the first
spend
team.
that, get rid of a manager.
Exactly. Zachary Purvis, who's been a member of the first team even for 12 months, says Dan James would have been perfect for his style. Anyone else noticed we went to shite when we sold him? Any youth videos upcoming? Yeah, we will have some youth videos coming up soon. Don't worry. People keep asking about that, and we're hoping to bring that back to the academy.
Terrible, lads. Let's have it right.
I'm not having it. Dan James is the reason for our downfall, by the way. Sam Zed said Martial's probably RR's first victim. No complaints. Some Greenwell as well says
We
how.
had a conversation about that, didn't we, in our little group with me and Macca?
I was about to say you and Mac have had a conversation that should not be repeated on camera.
I don't mind.
Well, from your point of view, but let's just say Mac is not giving up. And if you know, you know. Tom Greenwell said, how precarious is Maguire's role in this new system? Can he defend in a high line and progress the ball forward quickly, confidently?
You have two defenders, generally.
Yeah.
Like, one can be the cover, which should be Varane.
Should be, yeah.
One should be the stopper, which should be Slabhead.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's allowed to steam in. The problem that you have is, and I mentioned this on a video earlier, if you look at what Van Dijk does, it's not him that goes and tries to challenge. The whole he's never been dribbled pass, quite often he runs the opposite way. Now, I take the piss out of that because, well, he plays for Liverpool, and it's my birthright to do that. But what he actually does is good defensive technique because he's not getting beaten. He stays in the fight almost. And at the right time, if he has to make a last-ditch tackle, if he's not managed to delay him and someone else has managed to come in, then he's done his job.
Yeah. He's reading and he's the
in,
deepest.
if Gomez has steamed in and they've missed, which happens,
Yeah.
and he steams in, well, it's 1-0 whoever, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one of the jobs of the cover defender is to literally just delay. Can we stay on my feet? Think back to Rio and Vidic.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Which one's going steaming in?
Vidic
I'll give
always
you a
went
clue.
steaming in.
It ain't Rio,
Yeah,
right? So you see him going steaming in, and Rio's going to be the one that sits off, uses his pace to keep track with a speedy attacker.
Yeah.
And if it has to come to it, he'll make a tackle as he enters his own box, or ideally just before.
Very rarely got done, did he? I mean, I can only really think off the top of my head of the Bellamy one. In the 4-3, and he
So
sort
he passed
of
it in, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's
sort of-
like
he-
the
and
way he
by
passed,
then-
like you say, because he done that little flick, he'd almost give him an head start, and you can't give
The
him
one where Giggs
And
had
his
that
pace was-
ricochet.
the what?
Giggs had a ricochet off Michael Owen.
Yeah. It's Giggs' goal, really, isn't it? It's deflect. Do you know what I mean?
all the work, isn't it?
I mean,
It was a
Ryan
great
Giggs don't
pass,
get
wasn't
enough credit for that shot. that went enough, Michael Owen. Mid-Token Marius, who's been a member of the Academy for 3 months, says, Ollie was my dream Man United manager. Was got to see him live at OT for the first time versus Arsenal. That said, of course, I understand why it couldn't go on. Gorm Brenner says, like tick-attack, the German philosophy in Premier League will become outdated. I fear we're too late on the bandwagon. That's a spirit. Keegan Bradley, thanks for your super chat. Listen, I know you've all got reservations, but I'm just going to, give him a bit of a...
Jay is right. We should be looking at Icelandic Viking football, and if we don't get there first, we'll be lost.
Nick Albany says, hopefully Donny and Bruno in the starting 11 soon. I think. Christopher Hawkins, who's a member of the first team for 17 months, says, do we anticipate Rangnick being given the funds to spend in the January transfer window? I've already spoke about that. Up the fucking Reds, up the RH, up the Paddock. Also,
here today.
Yeah, it was RH. He's done a preview of RH, me and him. He'll be out in the morning for the Chelsea game, obviously. Seamus Nolan even says...
Did he mention on the video where he's been?
No, do you know what? We missed the trick there because we spoke about Rangnick and we spent about 10 minutes pronouncing his name. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. And then we spoke about, obviously he was saying my boy Fred and my boy Delo and my boy Bruno. Then I explained why they're his boys and why he says that, because obviously RH coaches these guys out, extracurricular coaching or whatever.
Yeah.
And he didn't really talk about the fact that we've just got a German manager and he's just spent the last 2 weeks in Germany coaching.
At Hamburg.
Not
at
Yeah. He's just been over to Hamburg.
Not some primary school.
To do extra coaching for these guys who actually drafted him in. And he didn't mention that until after the cameras stopped.
I'll give you your flowers, mate.
Yeah.
RH, up the RH, has been out there in Hamburg. He's been doing a little bit with St. Pauli for all the rebels out there, but a little bit at Hamburg as well, coaching.
It's mad.
Just doing a little bit of extra coaching.
It's mad that people in Hamburg get people from Droylsden to do their coaching. I can't get over that. I'm sorry. If you know, you know.
When Paddock hit the Northwest Counties, he's coming in as part of my staff, and we're going to go draws on everyone's arse.
This is just get on the Jonathan. Just get on the Droylsden bus on this channel, bro. I live in Eccles, but even I'm like holding my hands up. Do you know what?
Arthur Alberson used to manage him, didn't he? Briefly.
Knowledge. There you go, you see. Hey, one of the greatest fullbacks ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Seamus Nolan says, with all this talk of AVB, form so bad, I think that's Adam Wan-Bissaka form so bad, why don't we bring Laird back from loan and give him a good and fight for the place in the 11? Give him a chance, I think he's saying there. Ethan Laird, just before we wrap up.
I drive the Ethan Laird bandwagon.
I know, I've noticed that.
You do.
And rightly so.
Yeah. It's hard not to like Ethan Laird. If you like football and you're Mank and a United fan, how can you watch Ethan Laird and not like that?
Yeah.
He's everything you'd want from a fullback.
He's unbelievable in the final third. Right. I mean, unbelievable. His dribbling reminds me of Sancho's a little bit. The sort of quite low to the ground, agile off either foot. But he's a terrier. He played centre half for England. He'll get accused of not having a great defensive base.
Yeah.
Because he's so good going forward. But he played centre half for England. No one's picking an attacking centre half, are they?
No.
You're picking a centre half based on their defensive principles alone. He's probably going to end up about 6', 6'1", I imagine. But he's really, really solidly built. He's a serious athlete, I think.
And how's his fitness been this year? Because I know he struggled a little bit, didn't he? But
that was it.
Yeah, I think it's been fine. I haven't noticed that he's been injured.
Yeah.
He seems to be constantly posting photos of him playing at Swansea, which is better than the fucking crutches and stuff that we've seen from him.
That's good because it was a worry, wasn't it, at one point? Is it going to be?
Well, he was fully one of those careers that could have easily just been on the injury table.
What could have been, yeah.
And I was worried, but he looks like
he's still plenty young enough. Playing a full season now in the Championship, I don't want to recall him now. Let him get a full season under his belt, like Tuanzebe did, and then he just kicks on from there, doesn't it? Oh, hang on.
What?
He didn't exactly do that for Tuanzebe, did it? That's what I'm saying. He had a full season in the Championship, no injuries, come back, fucked it.
Do you know what? Tuanzebe, man, it was so sad.
One of the most natural defenders I have ever fucking seen in my life.
Tell that to Mbappe and Neymar as well, because you don't need to tell them, they know.
They're still waking up having cold sweats.
Alex Buckingham says 2024, my football manager save Laird is banging. Alan Chaplin says Laird is pure class and easily our best right back. We'll wait and see with that one.
Hang on, no, he is. Why isn't he?
Are we going right? Okay, he's our best right. He's better than Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I'm not going to start an argument over that one. Also, AK says, hit the like button for fuck's sake, for F's sake. Yep, well said. Hit that like button. Alfie McShane says, Hasburg is my German team because they could use the help because they've been awful since 2011. Well, they've got RH down there now, so hopefully they'll.
You're going to have all the German players just shouting. I mean, I'm not going to do a German accent, but just shouting up the RH.
Yeah,
if you can just walk around Hamburg now, just listening to up the RH all over the Reaper Barn.
Thanks to Surfshark. Don't forget to check out their Black Friday special. The code is Paddock, 83% off for 4 months.
Just Friday, Joe.
Thanks for Jonathan Shrager. John, where can people find you?
Yeah, Twitter, at Jonathan Shrager.
Shrager, I want to ask you about the team news as well. You used to do the team news, you stopped doing it now.
I did. I was getting grief, and you know, I'm a reasonable human being, so I thought, you know, I can see where
for the benefit of Manchester United.
For the benefit of Manchester United, and I could see where people were coming from. So yeah.
Mate, you'll never get anywhere in this business worrying about benefit of others. Do you know what I mean? Think about the numbers.
I know.
Fair play to you. No, make sure you're checking out Jonathan. You know where to find him. Mr. Howson, what's going on?
Just gone live. Listen, there's 4,000 watching right now. Why don't you all go to my channel, Stephen Howson? This is how United are going to play with Rangnick. And thanks to the coach's voice, I've got actual Rangnick talking about how he plays as well on the video.
And can we do a bit of a teaser next week? Got something good, haven't we?
Have we?
If you're telling the truth, we have.
Oh, with that guy? Oh, yeah, I've got Honigstein coming on. Sorry. You got to keep me up a bit, Joe. I don't know what we're talking about.
Next week, I've been thinking about it all day. You're like, oh, have we?
So, Raphael Honigstein wrote one of the quintessential German football books, which is Das Reboot. I had him on my channel last year. I'm going to be interviewing for Paddock on Monday, essentially. So we'll probably put that up Monday or Tuesday.
No, we're not waiting 24 hours.
I believe he's extremely close to Ralf Rangnick. There's a lot on Rangnick in Das Reboot, hence why I've had this obsession with him for a year or so. But Honigstein is going to be coming on. We're going to be talking all things Ralf Rangnick with the quintessential guy to ask him about.
Inject that Ralf Rangnick
Get over and go watch the
content
video. I'll tell you exactly
into
how
my veins. Thanks to Jonathan. Thanks to Stephen. I know I'm thanking you. You're here all the time. It's your vid. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Let's get 700,000 subscriptions or subscribers by the end of the season. We can do it. Thanks to Surfshark as well. This has been The Brew. Thanks for watching.